Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm here with Mr. Robert Pitcher out of Barbados, a publisher, and travels extensively in the Caribbean, looking at various aspects of political life, social life, economic life. We're going to have a interesting discussion. Last time we was here, we were talking about Umoja, and we were talking about Liat. Liat just got a new chief executive officer, and we want to talk a little bit about that. We want to talk about the economic situation in the Caribbean, single market economy, free movement of people, how is it that the integration is taking so long to take place, how come we're moving so slowly, we are one people with a common heritage, why isn't it easier for us to integrate, what are the governments doing to facilitate integration, and it's going to be a whole range of interesting issues and discussions. Welcome, Robert. Welcome back to the BVI.
Thank you ever so much. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, man.
I recharge my batteries every time I come to the BVI.
That's true.
Yes, man.
You love it here.
Love it here. I just came out of the cold. I was in Canada for the last 10 days, and must tell you that they talk about spring since March, but there's no spring. There's no spring yet in Canada. It's still winter as far as I'm concerned. It's cold, and a lot of these people from north is heading into the Caribbean. To be able to take advantage of our sun and our good weather and our good people and the ambience and the food and things of that nature. And we welcome them because we welcome their dollars to keep us.
We need to make sure we make sure we got a fair exchange.
Of course, of course.
A fair exchange. Yes, indeed. Liat, we've been fussing about Liat for years now,
Yeah.
and it seems as though there is some attempt. I don't know, however mild, maybe, I don't know, maybe a day late, a dollar shot, I don't know. But there's some attempt to do something to shore up Liat as a main transportation company to get us from place to place in the Caribbean, which is essential to our cohesion and our development.
We keep saying that Liat is essential for the movement of the people throughout the Caribbean. True. Very true. I have in front of me a clipping from the Barbados Business Authority dated September the 23rd, 2013. This was my third attempt in calling on the board of Liat to resign. It was at that point in time that I said there should be no ifs, ands, and buts or maybe about it. But I went on to say that the good guy Bruton, who was the CEO that came with a lot of experience. First of all, he was a pilot. He was the CEO of Caribbean Airlines, and he qualified as an attorney at law. With those three professions behind him, we thought that he would have done a job in changing Liat around. But Liat will never get changed around if we continue with the existing board with Dr. Gene Holder as the chairman and board members who will go along at the will of the four existing governments directing them what to do. Bruton couldn't do anything. The acting CEO, Reefer, couldn't do anything. And we have now imported a new CEO in the name of Lewis, who will give you all the talks, but he will talk to all the staff to get feedback from them as to what they would like done. But at the end of the day, he has got to listen to that board who is instructed by the four governments that are the shareholders.
And of course, the natural question for me coming out of that statement that you just made is that if Liat is so vital to the Caribbean and to the various countries, why don't we have more governments involved with the development and the possible success, the potential success of Liat? Why we leave it to just four not so big countries either in the Caribbean?
Yeah. Well, let me say to you that it is strange. Right now at this point in time, there is a sort of clash between the Barbados government and the Antigua and Barbados government, the two tourism authorities of those two countries, John McGinley, the Honorable John McGinley, and the Honorable Richard Seeley. A statement was made only recently, and to show you They will not take the politics out of LIAT and allow LIAT to function properly. And that John McGinley just said, along with his Prime Minister Spencer, that they will not send home one person. LIAT is overstaffed in Antigua by nearly 300 people, but you ain't sending home any. Now, you are not the major shareholder. Barbados is the major shareholder. And we just had to send home 3,000 out of 10,000. And the Minister of Tourism in Barbados must give, and the Minister of Finance plus the Prime Minister must give the taxpayer satisfaction. We can't keep the staff in LIAT in Antigua and Barbuda. So the other governments throughout the Caribbean will not come on board knowing that there's no change coming.
Yeah, but you know, I'm hearing you, right? I'm hearing you, but it disturbs me that Caribbean leadership is so into themselves, so selfish that they don't see that they need to be more aggressive on behalf of the people. For example, what are the articles of association in the LIAT business model that prevents a government who is becoming a major shareholder and having a vote on the board to change the direction of LIAT? For them to sit back, for these other governments to sit back and say, listen, LIAT is not turning a profit. These four countries that's running LIAT, they're involved in politics. They don't want to do the necessary organizational work to make LIAT successful. So therefore, we are not going to invest. We are going to sit back and allow it to fail, something that is just as important to us who are not participating as those who are participating. And when it should be, and I'm asking you, what are the articles of association that says a person that joins have a say, have a vote, and is able, if enough persons of like mind is on the board, can change the direction of LIAT? What are we saying to that?
But you must recognize that the four shareholding governments are the people who construct the board. What they are saying to the other governments is, we need you as a shareholder.
But you don't have no say?
You have no say. You're putting in money without the say. You're putting in money without the say. That is why Mitchell, Douglas, and Anthony, three respected prime ministers within those countries, ain't doing nothing. They ain't going that route. They can't afford because they can't afford it, period.
So what are you suggesting, and what you see as the future for LIAT on this new operational leadership?
The first thing that has got to happen is that for the four shareholding governments to understand, we are going to remove ourselves politically from with no interference into LIAT, and each island must appoint a person to sit on the board, a successful businessman, not a political appointee, a successful business person. I suggested, I just didn't criticize, I suggested that because Barbados was the major shareholder, that the chairmanship should come from Barbados. I suggested a very successful businessman who the Barbados government did not grant any they did not extend the courtesies that they should have extended to Reject when it first started. And Busy Williams was a major shareholder in Reject, lost a lot of money. The company is indebted for millions and millions of dollars, including owing myself. They owe me some money.
Yeah, but you're bringing in a new company, and I'm not really pro that. I'm not in favor of that situation, because some of that stuff is happening here as well. You have a local company that is trying to succeed, and you bring in a corporation, a major corporation that have lots of money, and you put them against your company with limited funding, and then you eventually put, well, let's bring it home. You eventually put, Reject eventually puts LIAT out of business, and then we are dependent on some foreign multinational for our...
Reject was not formed. Reject was not formed to put LIAT out of business at all.
So how would that relationship, how would they exist in the same space and time without in a limited market,
Yeah.
without one having to be removed.
When Redjet was formed, Redjet did not do their homework in registering their company in Jamaica, which is a Cat 1 recognized airport. Barbados is not a Cat 1. So a head office of Redjet was in the wrong place to start with. The document that I have in my office in Barbados clearly stated that Redjet was supposed to be moving passengers from Panama to Costa Rica to Pearsons to Kennedy, and moving passengers as far north as Jamaica and Guyana. It was not to compete with LIAT in the Eastern Caribbean at all, at all, at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I am saying that the experience of the businessman, Busy Williams, should head a board with the other islands like Dominica. There's a guy that is a successful businessman. He is chairman, George. George is his name. You have a guy from St. Vincent in the Grenadines, Sam good luck. I don't know whether the present government would even consider putting him on the board to represent St. Vincent, but he's a successful businessman. And in Antigua and Barbuda, for all of these years, the Hadis has been in business. One of the major employees of people, being successful, and he was on the LIAT board before, but he did not have the authority to function it like a business. At that point in time, he had to listen to the politicians as well. I am saying take the politics out of it. Take these four business people. Take on an accountant from a good auditing firm and change the airline. Structure the airline. It is foolishness for Gonzales to talk about if Grenada and St. Kitts and St. Lucia don't come on board to be shareholders. Then the flights going in or coming out of them countries. To me, that is blackmail, and that is wrong. All you need to do is to have within the organization a statistician who would look at the numbers coming out of these countries to determine the amount of flights, not the amount of flights that the politician want, because the politician would want 2 and 3 flights a day coming out of the country where the planes are empty. You only come up with the amount of passengers that make you make money, break even to make a small profit. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the cost of flying in the Caribbean is extremely expensive. It is cheaper for me to fly from Barbados to Canada than fly from Barbados to Antigua. Yeah. Furthermore, flying from Barbados to the British Virgin Islands.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in favor of the heavy-handed approach that you just said that Gonzales is using, but certainly is this happening, and we're going to move into that area in a moment, you know, the unity of the Caribbean. Is this happening that Caribbean leaders can't sit down? What really needs to happen from where I sit is negotiations. That if Gonzales wants these other countries to join, or these other countries think that they want to join, but they need some changes, there needs to be some negotiation that's in the best interest of the Caribbean people. I don't think that the leaders should just arbitrarily decide I'm going to be heavy-handed on this one area, or the other set to say, well, I'm not touching it because it's not profitable. There needs to be, for the best interest of the Caribbean community, leaders who are going to sit down around the table and say, listen, guys, this thing is an important thing for us. This is in our best interest. Let's talk about how we're going to set it straight. Why isn't that happening?
Before I get into the CARICOM, because the only fix yeses for CARICOM is where we can meet the next time, you know. But when they get at that board, when they get at that table, the things that they should discuss on behalf of the Caribbean people is rolled right up under the carpet. They talk all sorts of things that is not relevant in helping the people. Now, I've had a feedback from our last talks on your program that Barbadian man, you know, he don't want St. Vincent to have an airport. That is some of the feedback that I got through the islands. That Barbadian man don't want St. Vincent to have an airport. St. Vincent cannot afford an airport. Cannot. Dominica cannot afford an international airport. What you're doing is building airports prestigious for the sake of saying that you did this and you did that. But who got to pay? The taxpayers got to pay. So you are creating more poverty in the country than it was before.
Well, don't some of these countries need to have bigger planes coming in, direct flights in part of the development to bring more tourists?
You got to follow the trend of the international airlines that if you do not have at the break-even point, the government has got to pick up the slack for paying. Their flights ain't coming in and there are 20 people and that's the end of it, you know. The break-even point, you have to pick up the slack on.
Okay, clearly...
And my Prime Minister, sorry to cross you, my Prime Minister recently with his cabinet just said that they took a 10% cut in wages. And he went on to say that it affected his standard of living. My Prime Minister, how could he be so stupid to tell a nation that is educated that he take a 10% pay cut and that it affected his standard of living when nearly everything that he gets is free and all he got to do is put money in the bank? We think the people foolish? And that is what a lot of politicians through the Caribbean understand. The politicians have the people have short memories, and they can do anything to them and just wait for election time to come.
To start telling them some new stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. That's it. We got to take a break. We got to take a break for a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to continue in the same line of discussion, but from the perspective of unity, whether it's in economics or it's social, or is us moving and accepting the Caribbean as one region and one people. So keep it locked right here, the Spotlight. We're going to come right back with more of Robert Pitcher right after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the BVI Tourist Board, and CCT Global Communications.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm having a fantastic discussion, the kind that I like to have, with Robert Pitcher, a Caribbean man in the true sense of the word, traveled throughout the Caribbean region, North America, Canada. He publishes on many websites. Any newspapers?
No, everything to do with the electronic media.
Electronic media.
Yeah.
And certainly is well versed, and I have a terrific understanding of what's going on in the region, as you can hear, and we're very glad to have him in the BVI vacationing this week. We left off talking about Liet, and in a sense, we were segueing right into the economic development of the region, and I'm saying economic development of the region by choice in refraining from saying the Caribbean single market and economy. And I want to give it that broader context, and also the movement of the people within the context of economic growth and development, social economic growth and development. For years now, we started out with the Federation way before I was born, and here we are still talking about regional integration, Caribbean integration, and seem like nothing is being done. What are some of the challenges that we are facing where our leaders can't get people of similar culture, very similar culture, similar ancestral heritage, regardless of the mixture, and that we can't get together for our own regional interests?
You know, when the Federation came about, I was around in those younger years, so to speak. And the vision of the leaders of the Caribbean supersede the vision of the leaders that we have today. Believe you me. Because the leaders of today really don't have much vision. We understand that the Caribbean, whether we term it Federation, we term it CARICOM, or otherwise, the union slogan that of unity, until we understand that in its true sense, we are heading nowhere. The prime ministers and the ministers that meet every year meet, and the only thing that is unanimous is where we're going to meet next year, because it's all a big party without any real serious work being done. And for all of these years, all we get is pure old talk from them without any action.
St. Lucia producing bananas, Trinidad producing asphalt and all kinds of condiments and a whole bunch of stuff. Barbados producing a whole bunch of things. Every place in the Caribbean has got something
yes,
that they're producing. We begin. I noticed that we're beginning to buy a beer from Jamaica, beer from Guyana, beer from Trinidad. We're buying hot sauces
from
Trinidad. You know, from hot sauces from Guyana. We're buying sugar. We're buying a lot of things here in the Virgin Islands. Why is it we're not understanding that we can keep dollars circulating within the region through a proper transportation and shipping structures, proper economic cohesion and legislation and regulations, and develop and keep, when the money comes from North America, keep it in the Caribbean. We don't produce the money, but when it comes from North America, keep it in the Caribbean circulating a little longer before sending it right back up to North America.
One has got to understand the politics of the world. Those fellas in North America and Europe have kept us, whether we recognize it or not, in bondage all of these years, and it is their intention to keep us that way for as long as they can. I am black and proud to be black. We now have had recently only the Clippers with whatever his name is, making his famous statement that has brought him down and the fame that he has. But at the ending of it, he has made money out of that team, out of that black team, to the tune of $1.9 billion. Still don't like us. And we have allowed, our politicians have allowed Europe and North America to control us, where we should have been saying all along that we are strong enough to live on what we got, and if you don't toe the tide with us, we can do without you. And we can, all of the tornadoes that are going on right now and destroying America, not one of the Caribbean governments have come out yet to say, don't go to America. No advisory is out on America. Because we're frightened to put out an advisory not to travel there. But if the first high wind hit the east coast of Barbados, advisory, don't go to the Caribbean. It's hurricane time. And we are satisfied to take that. We don't have the guts to retaliate. We are not strong in mind at all. The mentality, the slavery mentality is still there, that the white people are masters who still try to control us. And until we can break that bond, we will continue to just talk without action.
That's sad, because here it is now in the 21st century, and we have been quote unquote emancipated now for almost 200 years, and you're telling me that from generation to generation our mentality remains the same. That's almost a hopeless situation.
I would like to say something. I want to say it short. I don't want to interfere with the politics of any particular country. But if within a country we know that you have a government and you have an opposition, it is foolishness for an opposition leader not to side with a government when he sees something that is constructive for the country going on, not to be able to vote for it. Must vote for it. I come to your country very often. I see your two or three cruise liners in. I see that there's no boardwalk, there's not good facilities for vendors to sell by, there's no uniform way of the transportation to take people around the island to sightsee and to stop. And the stops should not only be at recognized places. Every little rum shop around the country should enjoy a vehicle stop or two to be able to say, I make some money on this day from this boat. And I heard Mr. Mark Vanterpool today with his talks, and I feel I did not go into the semantics of costing, but I know that you need to do the dredging, that you need to do the boardwalk, and I need to know that the facilities have got to be there. It is like when I was last on your program, I said that the Honorable Minister of Education, Walwing, should look at teaching, having the Chinese, the Mandarin language taught in the schools from now, because within a 10-year period, 100 million Chinese will be coming to these Caribbean shores on vacation, and that's the country that has the money. That is the next world power, whether we like it or not. And we have got to be able to do this sort of planning, and we ain't doing that.
And we ain't doing it nowhere in the region.
We ain't doing it nowhere in the region. It isn't right to draw the taxpayers' money because the taxpayers are the people who are paying the politicians.
What can be done? I mean, what can be done to move the Caribbean unity, economic unity forward? Do we need legislation? Do we need leaders with less of an ego? We need because it seems to me that as a leader, we would, as a prime minister or a premier or a chief minister of a Caribbean country that is seeking to unify, that we would have to relinquish some of our national autonomy and our individual power.
You know what is strange, my brother? When one gets one's feet wet in politics, you start as a person saying that you're going into politics to help the people. And you get your first term of office. Your first term of office is, if you check the records, is never really to help the people, but it's to help yourself first. To help yourself first. And as long as you have the feel of power, and I could even go to your opposition leader, who should have retired many, many years ago, man in his 90s, have done very well for his country, and should have bowed out of politics gracefully, should have had a successor for his party, and he should not be scrambling, coming to Parliament at his age. He should be enjoying on one of those cruise ships that are going from one country to the next and not going into Parliament. But I remember from the days of Goldie Meyer, and I look around in the Caribbean, Dr. Eric Williams died in office. My good friend Sir John Compton came back after retiring gracefully and came back and died in office. My hero, Edward Walton Barra, did the same thing. Lester Bird, who should retire gracefully all like now, still want to come back to run and to dictate to the present leader of the party what he should do from what he shouldn't do, because he figured that he was a prime minister for all these years and he one after the next and say they are not satisfied. That is why Rocky Marciano was one of the great boxers that I say was my favorite. You know why? He retired unbeaten and never came back. Cassius Clay, that I love dearly, killed himself with blows. He should have retired unbeaten.
That's a sad story.
Sad story.
Yes, that's a sad story.
And these are the things that you look around and see, they're never satisfied. You have sufficient money to live off of. You have created the fame. You have done something in your lifetime that people would have remembered. And you need to go home gracefully and let the youth that you choose to follow in your footsteps do these things. And sit back and decide and say, you're either going right or you're going wrong.
We're falling under the tyranny of the clock. The people of the Caribbean, we are one people really, with a common ancestry and a common heritage. But yet we seem to be looking in every country for what's unique in that country. And to me, what's unique in every country, but is a small part of the culture. The general culture has 90% more in common than what it has is difference.
Yes.
Do you agree with that assessment?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
But what do we do about it?
Well, this is what I'm asking
Yeah.
you. Why aren't our leaders pushing that 90% commonality, that 90% similarity, that 90% of a common culture and a common heritage for unity within each individual country to help to facilitate? Because I think that is what is lacking in terms of the facilitation of Caribbean unity socially and economically.
It is selfishness to start with. It is a power base that they look at, because if you keep the people in ignorance, they will continue to vote for you. If you educate them too wise in politics, they will look for somebody else to vote for. And these are the things that, and a politician is a breed of person that is very unique in his own way. Mm-hmm. Very much true. Yeah. And it is sad.
And we seem to now be thinking in terms of a politician as having common characteristics, no matter what the generation is and no matter where they come from.
And you know where they're coming from? They're coming out to the university because they come out as lawyers. If you look around the whole of the Caribbean right now, you will see the majority of both political parties are made up of 80% lawyers and a couple of doctors and very few entrepreneurs or people from grassroots.
And we following the United States model and pattern, because if you look at one of the
things that the United States model that I like, and the Great Britain model I like, a president can only serve 2 terms of 8 years and go home, but a prime minister can be there for life, which should never be so.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying we're following in the sense that most of them are lawyers as well.
Of course,
yes,
of course.
Yes.
They make the legislation to keep themselves going all the time, and it is wrong.
Robert, we
need a full program to be able to sit down to talk, that we can explain to your people, which is also my people, because I'm a Caribbean person.
Yes.
We must look forward to a program where we can dedicate a bit longer time to
when you're back again, we're going to set it up.
Beautiful.
Because there's so much to talk about.
Beautiful.
We definitely don't have enough time. And you always bring a wealth of, as we say, a treasure trove of information.
Thank you,
sir.
So
it's really, really great to see you again. Great to have you in JTV studios, and we're looking forward for the next time we come back to have you both on Spotlight and on Umoja.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Have a great night.
Yes, and you enjoy the BVI while you're here.
Thank you.
Good. Next week, Spotlight will be shining on the opportunities available to learn skills that you can make money from, and the importance and need to mentor our young people. Be sure to be here. Spotlight is seen Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 2:30 p.m. here on JTV Channel 55. You can view our spotlights online at jtvlive.net. All of the programs that you've missed. If you missed any of this one tonight, you can certainly pick it up on jtvlive.net. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your words of encouragement, your criticisms, and your suggestions. Continue to email me at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com. I'm Edjuenka reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited and H. Lavity Stout Community College.